Good afternoon again. Peace be with you. It is still Sunday, May 3rd, 2020. And every time I lean forward, my head disappears in the camera, so I'm trying to set the camera. Okay, we just talked about the chapter of Not Yet, my experience on the highway, Ohio 72. Now, this is chapter 10. This is video number 18. And it's called From Holy Order to Knowledge of God. I hitchhiked around some more, an accepted and safe way to travel back in the day. But it began to get dangerous after the movie classic Easy Rider came out, not to mention my experience on the Ohio Turnpike. And I visited some old friends, took some time to reflect on my life to that point, and refocus upon what was most important to me, to find the truth of this life and live it to the best of my ability. In hindsight, if I had been... I'm sorry, I'm not used to recording myself on the iPhone, and these messages are flashing on. Pardon my weird looking around. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm new to the use of the iPhone as a camera for myself, as a video camera. There it goes again. In hindsight, if I had been more attentive to the guidance I received in that elevator back in college, I would not have made the next move, the next choice on my spiritual quest, which was to join what was presented to me as being an esoteric holy order, a Pauline Catholic sect not under the Roman Catholic authority. For the guidance in the elevator was to just follow the red letters. Jesus' alleged words, peace be upon him, not commentary, the King James, his words, not the King James Bible, just follow his words, the red letters. And he said not to join any Christian sects. I was blown away, gobsmacked by signs and wonders I saw manifesting through these people in the order. To think that I had really any control over it is just arrogance, however. I was on a search for truth. I'd asked Allah to guide me, and he allowed me, all my experiences, to happen. He knows best. He must have wanted me to have that experience, or allowed me to. You know, it's said that if something is meant for you, if Allah means for you to have something, nothing can keep it away from you. And if Allah means for you not to have something, nothing can bring it to you. So if you really believe that and you know that, you know, it takes a lot of stress out of your life. All right? The founder of the Holy Order, who I never met personally, claimed to be the reincarnation of Paul from the New Testament. At that time, I was okay with that, given what I would see before my eyes of signs and wonders, let's call them. My thinking and reasoning had been affected by the 60s, which was rife with New Age ideas and manifestations, what we thought were so right at the time. I later found out much of it was overtly and covertly planned in our generation by psychological mind-benders from the Tavistock Institute in London, who had also orchestrated the Beatles and the whole sex, drugs, and rock and roll love fest that was the 1960s, that we all thought was a spontaneous event, but it wasn't. The Tavistock Institute's psychological influence is overtly, covertly embedded into almost every major university, corporation, think tank, and government. There are many books on this subject. I took my eye off the ball. I was allowed to take my eye off the ball. Allah allowed it. If he didn't want it to happen, it wouldn't have. So I took my eye off the ball, and it took many years to refocus, years full of some great experiences and life lessons. Our Creator is most compassionate, most forgiving, most merciful, most patient, and knows best. He allowed me to go into that order and leave 3 years later in his wisdom and for his purpose. So as I was hitchhiking around, visiting some old friends after leaving the farm, seeking direction through prayer and meditation, JFK and Vietnam still were both on my mind, two very big events in my generation that had affected myself and the rest of humanity deeply. And both were not what they seemed to be on the surface, as many more people were beginning to figure out. My life to that point had been the realization, both very personal and very global, that there is a vast difference between appearance and reality. And I was very thirsty to know that the reality of both, of it all. It was in Chicago, in 1973, on the shores of Lake Michigan, on a clear Sunday dawn. A handful of people were there at the water's edge, waiting for the sun to rise over Lake Michigan. I remember there was a guy who must have been playing jazz all night at some club, sitting on the concrete wall by the beach of Lake Michigan, playing soft sounds with his saxophone, as others just sat and meditated or quietly walked around. A very peaceful and mellow morning on the shores of Lake Michigan at Chicago, at the Loop. I saw a guy doing some exercises under some trees just where the sand ended and the grass began. What caught my eye was that he seemed to be in a sphere of soft glowing light. And I was not high on any external stimulus, and it was not from any after images of sun gazing. That ball of light I saw around him, and I saw around no one else who was there. I asked him who he was and where he was from. His name was Brother Michael. And his name was Brother Michael. And he was from a holy order. I said something like, "Take me to your leader," and we walked a few blocks back to the brick apartment building where the order was in residence. I remember the security system and the voice transmission box to verify identification before the door opened.